Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is what's the word? MiniMap.com.au's weekly games podcast, your favorite weekly games podcast. I'm sorry, I went off script. My name is Kerry Palmer. Consummate professional as always. Joining me is Jeremy Bratatich.
Yeah, unfortunately, Liam Hemsworth couldn't make it today. He was booked to be the new host of the MiniMapCast, but unfortunately has taken the new role as Geralt in The Witcher.
I wasn't even late.
Yeah, well, you know, it's just one of those things where, like, you're like, we had him on, and then he suddenly had this big multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix, and before that we were trying to get Henry Cavill, but he's currently doing the Superman thing again, and so that just didn't work out either. There's just, you know, we're just always an ounce away from really making it, and then something like that comes up. So
we're just an ounce away from replacing half of our hosts.
Yeah,
with a AAA Hollywood actor.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Well, we hope to get him on soon. We really do. We know he's such a big listener.
How do you feel about them recasting Geralt midway through a show?
Oh, look, I mean, recasts happen. I haven't seen the show, so like I don't particularly care.
Right.
For my money, like I am happier to see him back as Superman than I am like unhappy that Liam Hemsworth is Geralt. But also I feel like they maybe like instead of recasting Geralt, why don't they just like do Ciri for a couple of seasons or something? Just
they had Ciri in season 2. I just think she's not going to be a main character. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like why not use this as a time to really go all in on a cool adaptation series story?
The problem with that is she's not a Witcher. It would have to be a different show.
Isn't she a Witcher?
She's trained at the Witcher school, but I don't think she becomes a Witcher. She's like a child of prophecy.
I don't go here. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I've already played the games, and that was like 7 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
Her whole thing is she's a part of the Wild Hunt something.
Right. Okay. I don't know. I didn't want to see him I didn't want to see Liam Hemsworth as Geralt, but I also thought that Henry was an odd choice as well.
I hear he's done it quite well.
Well, yeah, because he's a big fucking nerd. So like I feel like, you know, he put his heart and soul into it. He didn't seem super happy doing it from what I've read. I don't know how
really,
like in terms of just like he apparently would often say in interviews that he was like the battle of the show was always between him, the books, and the showrunners, because he wanted the show to be more like the books and the showrunners didn't really as much, and so he would always try and kind of like push and pull with them a little bit. Not as far as I'm aware, not in any bad way, but just in like he really wanted this and they actually wanted this.
That sounds frustrating.
You know, he's a big fucking nerd, isn't he?
What's like? You keep saying that. What's like
He did a fucking 3-hour live stream where he was building a PC.
Yeah,
he's a huge.
What's that got to do with how well he can play a character?
Oh, nothing. It's just funny to say.
Funny to be too.
Yes.
Jeremy, we are going to. Oh, pardon me. I've just received the hiccups.
Great.
Which is not great to intro a show with, but we'll see how I go.
Liam wouldn't have had the hiccups.
True. You got the war chest to pay for Liam to do the intro of the show.
What chest? What? No. Of course not.
Maybe he'd do it for free out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about what we've been playing as we usually do, but we're gonna first start with a hypothetical discussion, a return of one of our favorite segments, making its second appearance on the show, the "You Can Have This One" topic. But before we do that, it's time to intro the show. If you didn't know, this is MiniMap.com.au's weekly games podcast. Thank you for joining us. You can catch us every week on any podcast platform of your choice, and you can watch us on Twitch as we record the show live, if you like. You know, if you like what you're hearing, if you are enjoying the show, please give us a positive rating wherever you're listening to us. And if you want to join us as we record the show live, you can join us at 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time at twitch.tv/minimapau. Before, during, and after the show, we hang out with the chat, so you can sort of have a discussion with everyone else in the chat there about what we're talking about. As we're talking about it, interact with us during the break, the pre and post show. We're here all that time to chat with you if you're here to join us live. So consider joining us next week. Be sure to keep up to date with us when we post anything new, any new episodes, anything on minimap.com.au. You could do that by following our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch accounts. All of those are at MiniMapAU. It's a great way to know what each week's episode is as it goes live. For example, last week we had a big horror discussion. We're actually recording this on Halloween. It's the 31st of October, but it released on the Halloween weekend, Friday. And we had a big discussion about spooky games and how they make us feel, how it makes me feel as someone who doesn't normally play them. It was a good discussion. It's been shouted out as already been a good one to listen to from June, who is our other host, who's still busy, who isn't around for the moment, but they greatly enjoyed the topic. Maybe you would too. This week, like I said, we're talking about You Can Have This One, Jak and Daxter. And then next week we're going to be doing a retrospective Game of the Year for a different year, not for this year, but like we did one for 2006 a few months ago. We're going to do a different year coming up next year. So, we're going to do a different year coming up next week, not next year. So, stick around for that next week. We also wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model D Improv as the music for the MiniMapcast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. Lastly, if you want to help us keep the lights and mics on, you can throw $5 our way and become one of our patrons. It helps us to continue to do this. You can ask us questions to answer on the podcast, and it's as cheap as a latte with oat milk. You can do all of that by going to patreon.com/minimapau. Jeremy.
Kerry.
We've only done a topic like this once before.
Mm-hmm.
But it's time to do it again. It's time to bring back You Can Have This One. Now the question is, Jeremy, you have the graphics ready. You're on the ball.
I do. I did briefly mute you for a sec as I bumped the button. But it was only for like less than a second.
Okay. I appreciate the slightest of speed bumps along the way.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to be talking about how to reintroduce, reboot, reinvigorate the Jak and Daxter franchise.
Yes, a franchise that we haven't seen since the PS2 days.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I almost said Jak and Daxter just then. Jak and Daxter is a very strange... Well, we spoke about this when PlayStation Plus came up, when the collection was introduced on PlayStation Plus, whenever that was, mid-year. And
not the collection, just the original games.
The classics collection.
Yeah,
is I think
not the HD collection they brought out later, because
no,
that's a different product and on the PS3 and not a part of any of those PS3 remakes. A part of Thingo, or is it only PS2 versions? Like what
is Thingo?
A part of the PlayStation Plus thing.
I don't know what's on their streaming service because we don't have access to their catalog.
Is Shadow of the Colossus the PS2 game on there?
Nope.
And not the PS3 game?
Yep. The PS4 one's there.
Yeah, but not the PS3 one.
I don't know. I don't know what's on the PS3 because we don't have access to the streaming service.
Okay.
But yeah, there's next to no PS2 games and there's next to no PS1 games. Man, I love that service.
Yeah.
Anyway, we spoke about how I played through basically all the Jak and Daxter games, well, except most of the first one, and gave my opinions on it back then over a course of a few weeks. And it's a very confused, strange franchise. It really doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
At any given moment.
Yeah, they had one like pretty good third person like platformer, like classic platformer. One that was maybe the design was too old when it came out. And then like two middling third-person shooters, like action.
They're not third-person shooters in that
No.
regard because you can't aim the gun. Like
Yeah,
they're platformer shooters.
Yeah. And then a racing game, and then two PSP spin-offs that like were exactly as you'd imagine PSP spin-offs.
I think it was only one PSP spin-off, and then Lost Legacy or whatever it was called. Lost Planet.
Lost Frontier.
Lost Frontier was a PS2 game. It was just bad.
I don't think it was a PS2 game.
I guarantee you it was.
The Jak and Daxter, The Lost Frontier, PlayStation Portable and PS2. I think it was a PSP game first. Yeah.
I only ever noticed it on the PS2.
That says it all, doesn't it?
So it's a strange franchise. For the sake of argument, I think we're only really going to be referencing the first 3 mainline Naughty Dog games.
Yeah.
But even then, going forward, this is a franchise that was a part of a genre that was already tired when it came around. That sort of collectathon genre.
Yeah.
It only took one generation for it to fall to the wayside. Like, we got Banjo-Kazooie and we got Spyro and we got... that was kind of it at that point.
Spyro was... right, yeah. And then it came around a little bit as 3D 3D platformer collectathons have sort of come back into fashion in that like niche, right? In the people that serve the fans of the Banjo-Kazooies in the form of Yooka-Laylee and there's a handful of others as well. Like Hat in Time is kind of
Hat
like
in Time.
Yeah. I actually don't think either of those games are that good. But like, the closest being since then is like the closest good one is like Mario Odyssey, right? Like those are the only ones that really continue it on.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good likeness.
And so like, how do you bring back the Jak and Daxter franchise if you can? How do you want to begin? So we've done. I've done a little bit of structuring of this segment to sort of see if we can sort of like make it a little bit more cohesive each time we do it. I might just I'll look. Usually I would start at number 1, but
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I
think the first topic we should start with is number 5 on your list. What do you reckon?
What's the hook?
Yeah.
That's exactly where I was going to go. All right. Go. Kerry.
You want to say it at the same time? No, that'll be awful.
Oh, no. But what if it's the same? We don't know what each other's are. What if it's the same?
We could do that. The chances, even if we've got like the same idea, that we word them in the same way is like infinitesimally small.
All right, let's do it.
But,
ready? 3,
all right.
2, 1. It's a Ratchet and Clank crossover.
PlayStation Zelda.
Oh.
Yeah, that went about as well as I thought it might.
Yeah.
Well, you say a Ratchet and Clank clone.
Ratchet and Clank crossover. Yeah, it's for the first time they're finally meeting.
Okay.
The golden child of platformers for this platform, and it's sort of like it's ugly stepbrother.
It's awkward cousin.
Yeah. Finally meet. But can I tell you, in the PS2 era, the chances of these two coming together and being in the same game, while it probably wasn't high, was a thing that I wanted bad.
Really?
It seemed like a classic fit. They would play off of each other pretty well.
Personality-wise, yes.
Like gameplay-wise, they're similar-ish. Like silhouette-wise, they're quite similar. They both got a pretty similar vibe, right? Like they're both.
It definitely felt like they came out of the same playbook.
Yes.
And they were both created around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. That immediately makes me want to ask you how yours plays, but I want to speak to my hook a little bit, which is
go for it.
Jak and Daxter could be PlayStation's Zelda, is what I've written here.
Now, what do you mean by Zelda?
See, that's the thing. I think it could either, like I said, the collectathon genre is pretty tired,
yeah,
and was tired when those games came around, and I think the best version of a game like that, which I think there would have to be some sort of mechanic, some sort of tie-in to root this franchise in its history in some degree. But I think there is room for you to do that in a modern setting by placing it in an open world game of some sort. And you could do that in a number of ways. I was streaming this weekend. I was playing some more Resident Evil 8. And I had a moment where I was like, is Ocarina of Time an open world game? Are all the 3D Zelda games, are they open world? And the answer is yes.
Astronaut with the gun, like on the moon, like always has been.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's funny, right? Because Ocarina of Time is like one of the first 3D open world games.
Yeah.
It's different to the open world systems that we know today, where like Cyberpunk or GTA or The Witcher or Horizon, where the world is very, very, very open and you could go anywhere and do anything. Those early Zeldas, Breath of the Wild, again, the sort of the prime example. Breath of the Wild is obviously open world. But these early games, they're so much more focused and linear, where it's almost a pseudo Metroidvania, right? Where, you can go to these different places, but you don't have the hook shot, so you can't open the door to this place, so you're just gonna have to leave and come back.
Yeah.
And going through the game linearly and unlocking all of those upgrades then opens up the open world to you. But it is open world, hands down. And there isn't really a game like that in PlayStation's catalog where you've got that action adventure sort of going, like, because even Ratchet and Clank is sort of more about shooter than it is anything else. Are you going to say knack? I see you holding something in.
No.
What are you holding in?
Is Ocarina of Time open world?
Yeah, you see, Jeremy? You see how easy it is to start thinking about it? Yeah. It is open world though. Because when you go, you can visit the Gerudo Valley, you can go to Hyrule Castle, you go to Death Mountain, go to Lake Hylia. It's an open world game. It just is.
I would like to table this conversation as perhaps something that we explore on a later episode.
That's a good idea.
We'll go with it for now, but I think there's longer than the amount of time that we have to talk about this that I want to talk about this for. So I think I agree. I might just throw that in a different document.
Yeah, write that down somewhere. Yeah, we'll circle back around to that another week.
Yeah. Continue. Sorry.
So point being, there's not really an entry like that for PlayStation. And I think it could do well to have their sort of more witty banter writing that you get in all of their third-person action games applied to a more traditional gameplay format in terms of a structured open-world action-adventure game like Okami, like Zelda.
Sure.
That can be lighthearted, that can be good fun. You have different companions that you get along with along the way or stuff like that. I think that would be the best use of Jak and Daxter. But I'll say how I envision these characters and using this old property when we get to like the story section. But
sure.
I'm not just taking Jak and Daxter 1 and I'm not just or only taking Jak 3. Like
sure.
I want to take sort of the best parts of all of the different games and turn it into one not homogeneous, but like single
cohesive
unit.
Yeah like
exactly.
And like I think for the most part, while I said Ratchet and Clank crossover, like I don't also just want another collectathon, and I also definitely don't want the Grand Theft Auto Lite that they were going for as the series went on. I also do want like a middle ground, right? Like I understand, as much as it pains me to say, like Jak, I guess, needs his guns. And I don't think that's for the best, but I understand that that's what that franchise became. But I think he should feel a little bit more unique, right? Like I think that maybe not just not maybe guns with ammo, but maybe like he's harnessing his eco powers and channeling it through weapons, right? And then his different eco powers can be the different weapons, and there can be like 6 or 7 of them, and that's sort of like the hook, right? In the gameplay essence. In terms of like whether or not it's like an open world game, I think it needs to be. I agree. I think it needs to be quite open world. It needs to be open enough that you are exploring and going to new zones.
And discovering things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I think that can work in a Ratchet and Clank crossover as well. I think that both of these two, in Ratchet and Clank, in the planets, every new planet you go to, for the most part, in all the mainline games, like you explore them, right? You see what's around that corner, what's through that cave, what's over that mountain. Like you go around and you see like what always feels like a big chunk of the world. You do a lot of traveling, or at least they make it feel like that. So I think that the Jak and Daxter Ratchet and Clank crossover still fits within your vision of what they are in terms of gameplay. Part of as a joke, I wrote down, to make it better, I said fix Jack's name, give him a C. Which I also I don't agree with that. That was just funny. What I actually said was make Daxter not annoying. I think that he's a bit too he talks to the camera too much. He acknowledges the audience a little bit too much for my liking, in a way that I think we can leave behind. We can come back to that never.
I want Daxter to be similar, like a similar energy.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, less annoying in some ways. I wrote, what did I write here? Daxter is the same, but less sexist.
What? I haven't played that series in a long time. Is he sexist?
Yeah, I remember I brought up on the show how there were moments where like Kira bends over and like Jak and Daxter both are like just like staring at her ass, but then she turns around and they're like, "Whoa."
Yeah, right. Great.
It's awful.
Yeah, really good. I also write here as a joke, make Jak a sad dad, to make it in line with the rest of the PlayStation properties.
Where it's the same Jak and Daxter from 20 years ago, and now they're just older.
He's got a beard, right? And like he's weary and he's tired.
Jeremy, Jak always had a beard. Well, from 2.
Yeah, right.
He's got a little goatee.
Yeah, but like, what if he had like a Kratos beard?
It's a pretty good beard.
So what I've got here in terms of one of the other topics that we have as part of this structuring is, who do you reckon should make it? And this is going to tie in a little bit with how does it play, because like I mentioned before, I want his eco powers to have a big focus. I want them to look really pretty. I want tons of really awesome effects. I want it to look bright and have awesome illumination, all this stuff, right? So I want look either give it to Insomniac because Insomniac
it's a pretty easy hit.
It's really easy to hit, and so I don't want to just leave it on that. Either that, or we give it to Sucker Punch, specifically the team that made the Infamous games.
Yes, Jeremy, that's exactly what I wrote.
Yeah.
I only think there's one team at Sucker Punch.
Right. Okay. Well,
they're never really doing concurrent projects.
Sure, but I meant that style of studio, right? Whether it's a team that exists anymore or not.
I see what you mean. Okay, I see.
I think that would play off really well.
100%. I think their open worlds are some of the better ones that are coming out of Sony's first-party studios, but also with a lot of character and a lot of color and heart and design as part of their open world mechanics and visual design, both in the Infamous games and Ghost of Tsushima. I think Sucker Punch is, for me, they're the best choice for what I've envisioned for this game.
Yeah, I don't want them to do the...
I also wrote down Respawn to piss you off.
Respawn. Would it be a similar piss you off if I asked for Arcane to make it?
I mean, that wouldn't piss me off. It just
the Jak and
not
Daxter immersive sim.
We have a very important contribution from the chat from Sam. Sam says, "Make them gay, please. I will play it if they're gay." Sam, you did see that Jak and Daxter are like human and Otzel, right?
I mean, Daxter wasn't initially. Daxter used to be a people. He used to be a human.
Yeah, Daxter was a person for 5 minutes in this franchise, literally until the end of the opening cutscene, and then it's over for him.
Maybe they were gay before then, and
they might have been.
They're still in love. Just a bit more difficult logistically. What's the story of yours, Kerry?
So the story of mine, like I sort of alluded to before, I want to see what you get if you jam all of the 3 Jak games into one cohesive unit.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than this like silent protagonist, cartoony world, but with like colorful characters that talk a lot and stretch and animate, and you've got the green area and you've got the blue area and you've got the dark eco area. Like, that's such a cartoony place. Then you compare it to like the dark smog of the open world city, and Jak becomes like this like skater bro who can speak now, and he's all hardcore, and like there's such a dissonance between all of the component parts until you get to 3, where it starts really bringing in like the natural world around the city, into the city, what happened with the old precursor tech, and it starts to mesh it all together a bit. I want to see Jak doesn't start out as silent, but he's not this like edgy bro either. He's maybe a bit of a smartass, bit of a ratchet kind of a character.
Yes, are we both agreement that we want... Oh, right, hang on a minute. Do you want Jak to talk?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't want him to be silent. I don't just want Jak and Daxter 1.
I know.
I want to synthesize the best parts of all of that.
Okay, but
and honestly,
likable
Jak
voice,
2 and 3 were better because Jak spoke. Silent protagonist Jak is it's weird. It's just strange.
Like, it is weird and strange. I thought what was coming out of Jak's mouth was worse than him not talking for the entire game.
That's true.
But,
so I don't want Jak 2 or Jak 3 Jak. I just want a different Jak that talks.
Okay, I'm back on board.
Yeah. Daxter is similar. Like, Daxter's got a good energy, and they kind of misuse him in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, he's got some good moments. He's quite slapstick and comedic in that regard. But then other times he's just actually a terrible person.
Yeah, right.
So make Daxter better, but the same.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, what if these different areas, you've got the city, and you've got the desert, and you've got the village, what if they don't do any time travel and they all exist in the one spot, and it's about leaving the village and seeing what is outside the village, and actually there's this whole industrial city, and it's like culture shock for them, and someone disappears and they turn up in the city and they're thriving there, and then you get like beaten up by some group, taken into the desert and left there, find your way back to the city through the catacombs, through the precursor catacombs. Then you start understanding the precursor tech a bit more, mesh it all together, bring it all together into one unit. And that helps to make the world the sort of open, grand scale that it needs to be for a modern day open world adventure. That's what I want from that. And part of that is that I do still want Jak to have shooting, maybe an aim down sights, maybe more like a Ratchet third person shooter kind of a deal, as well as melee abilities. And I want it to be all focused around precursor tech. I want him to have precursor power bracelets, or like energy blasts, or like a power fist or something like that kind of flows around him and like forms around his fists or something like that. I want him to be able to harness precursor tech and keep the precursor mystery front and center through the mechanics and through the story, and have that inform everything there. So sort of you're juggling the similar to what you end up doing in 3, where you're juggling the sort of modern day, present day rather, war between the different factions, as well as discovering what the precursors made all of these things for, and why the city was built on top of this area, and what that means, and can you discover it, and what happens when you go down there. That's where mine goes.
Okay. I'm honestly pretty down with a lot of that stuff. I enjoy the precursor tech element. I think
because it felt so like cheap in some ways. Well, in the way, sorry to jump in again, but just in like Jak 1, how there was all this stuff everywhere, all of these orbs, all of these power cells, but then it kind of didn't do that much. It was just like, oh, you collected enough power cells, we opened this boulder blocking the way. I was like, okay. And then by 2 and 3, it's the future, and you just have other eco technology, and they're like relics. They're so scarce that you hardly see them.
Yeah, I was like, I think in my mind, like the natural progression was like, no one knows how to use it in the first one. People kind of know how to use it in the second. And the third one is you war over it, right? Like the universe is like, whoever controls the precursors controls the world, right? Like, isn't that like a regular kind of like arms race type sort
kind
of thing?
It's more like there is a there's like a precursor tunnel under the city, and the factions are trying to get there first, but it turns out that's because there's like the precursors were like the light ones, and the precursors' enemies, the dark ones, are coming from space to like take over the planet, and so people want to get to the teleporter that'll take them to the dark ones asteroid because some people want to mesh with the dark ones, and some people want to. It gets really messy.
Yes, that sounds messy. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, I think I would want a little bit more. I think I wanted just like a little bit more like Final Fantasy in a way. Like I want like a cast.
Tell me.
Like I want like a cast of characters.
Okay.
I want like in terms of like story specifics. Like I'm not really versed in really much aside from what the brief moments I've played in 2 and 3, as opposed to knowing the story of 1. What I've got here is because I've got the crossover between Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter. I've got the Dimensionator or whatever from Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart throws them into the Jak and Daxter dimension. Nefarious is trying to meet up with a Baron Praxis, right? Mm-hmm. They're trying to work together the Zoni and the precursors come from the same source or whatever, the same secret source, and in my story, Baron Praxis and Dr. Nefarious. They start to work together, but Praxis fucking hates Nefarious. Hates him. And because Nefarious won't shut the fuck up. Like similar to Rift Apart with the Super Nefarious or whatever he's called.
He's Emperor Nefarious.
Yeah. But like kind of similar kind of betrayal sort of thing, but like, you still fight both of them. And then, like, they team up and all together, and it's all, it's not unlike Rift Apart in that regard.
Sure.
Mostly because this was a story that I had when I was a kid, right? This was the story that I wanted when I was a child, and then they made it with Rift Apart.
They've kind of done it with their own IP.
Yeah.
They crossed their own Ratchet IPs.
Yeah, I can have that one.
Yeah.
So
I had that one.
Yeah, I had that one. So the final part we have is who's announcing this game at E3. Before we get there, do you have any other little things you want to throw in?
Just a couple of things. Just you were saying a cast of characters. That was sort of, I had in like a separate box here, but yes, that is one of the better parts of Jak and Daxter. The characters, the few that you do like when they like return in the next game, it's like, I thought you died at the end of this section, and that was sad. And it's like, you're back, and you've got this like secret history with this other clan, and like all of that. Like,
have Samos die, right? Have the Green Sage, do a giant burst of fucking eco magic or whatever to take out a giant gun. Then he dies, and you got to
Yeah, and maybe that's like the fall of the village or something like that.
Yeah, have him give him like a Gandalf moment, right?
There's a lot. There's good stakes and tension in the third game, and yeah, but like having the cast of characters mean something and be there and have a good rapport and begrudging allies and all of that sort of classic character action stuff that's really come into its own in the last 10 to 15 years with Uncharted and Horizon and all of that. I want to see those dynamics play out in this world and with these characters. The other thing is we didn't say how long these were going to be. How long is yours going to be, Jeremy?
Like Rift
like
Apart
a classic
length.
Ratchet kind of length?
Yeah, like you wouldn't want it any longer than that. I don't want to spend, open world game hours in this thing. Maybe even a little bit shorter than a Ratchet and Clank. Maybe give me like a solid 7.
Like 10?
I was gonna say 8, 7. Like
you want to romp. You just want to
No,
blast through and you're done.
No fat, just like beat for beat. Give me some side stuff, but mostly some funny side characters and some collectibles. I don't need skill trees. I don't need 40 weapons to upgrade like Ratchet and Clank. I want 8 solid guns and like action.
And are you playing in yours? Are you playing as Ratchet and you're playing as Jak?
I think you can choose. I think you both run around together and you can just like swap on the fly.
Interesting. Just a real sort of party action adventure.
Yeah, like buddy cop all the way through, right? Like give me like when in Rift Apart when Rabbid and Ratchet finally meet up, right? Like you only play as one or the other, right? But like give me them meeting up within the first half an hour.
Right.
Give me like Avengers Endgame, Infinity War. Like, everyone's meeting fucking beat after beat after beat, right? Give me like set up, throw them together, push them both forward.
Yep. Right. Okay. Mine's on the opposite scale here. I've got 15 to 20 for the story.
Fuck.
But that's sort of similar to a Zelda style, right? Where a lot of that is like, like an hour and a half in like a dungeon, and there's like 7 dungeons with each a unique mechanic and stuff like that. And then you can go and find the tree island, and then the boss mini game and all of that stuff. Like that's what that's based around. I've got an answer for who to present it, but I want to hear yours first.
So I've got 2. So I'll do my joke ones first.
Okay.
Then do yours, and then we'll do my real ones.
Okay.
My joke ones is, and on stage to announce the upcoming film, we have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart playing Jak and Daxter.
Jeremy, I was trying to think of answers to this question, and Kevin Hart did come into my head, and I'm like, no, stop it.
Because the Borderlands movie thing is the only thing coming to you from Kevin Hart's trailer.
Yeah,
we have the stars of the Jak and Daxter film, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart.
The Rock's just in his trailer from another movie.
Yeah. He's like still in the Black Adam costume. He like doesn't take it off anymore.
Sam says, thanks, I hate it.
Yeah, the hierarchy of the PlayStation universe is about to change. It's a Black Adam reference for you.
Oh, timely.
It actually is.
Prescient.
Yeah. All right, who you got?
I want to cast the original Daxter as the voice of Daxter in this game, and he can come out and speak normally, and then speak like Daxter, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's Daxter." And then maybe he could demo the game or introduce the demo to the game, or even just be like, "Here's the trailer." That would be fun.
Okay.
Voice actors who you can't like recognize because, like, you watch Futurama. And you don't, and then you see John DiMaggio on the street. It's not like, look, it's Bender. I could see Bender on the street because, like, John DiMaggio isn't a robot from the year 3000. But if he talks like Bender, they're just going to be like, whoa, that's Bender's voice. That's wild.
Yeah,
and I
right.
think there's room for that.
Okay, I can see that.
And that's like, here's something that people love from the first one that was iconic to the first series. It's coming back in this one. It is literally right here in front of you.
Just realized your answer is quite nice. My next one is not.
Why not?
Because
What kind of answers were you trying to come up with? You try to tank the reboot before it gets off the ground?
So I'll be honest, I forgot to write the answers for this part of it before we hit live because I thought I wrote it down and I didn't, and I forgot what I was going to write.
So what are you going to say?
I'm going to say Jack Nicholson and Dax Shepard. Jack Nicholson playing Jack and Dax Shepard playing Daxter. Because I think it would be fucking hilarious if they got Jack Nicholson, the 1980s Joker, star of such films as The Shining, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Terms of Endearment.
This man's 85 years old.
And he's Jack. And Dax Shepard, the closest thing you can get to Zach Braff without it being Zach Braff, playing Daxter. If you Google Dax Shepard, you will see a man that looks so close to Zach Braff, but isn't.
You could just hire Zach Braff.
I could. He's the voice of Chicken Little. He could be Daxter.
Why didn't you do that? Is it because you just wanted a Jack and a Dax? I wonder.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, he does just look like Zach Braff. That is uncanny.
It is bizarre, isn't it? Honestly,
not from every angle, not at all times, but
when he does, does he?
Front on, definitely.
Yeah. That being said, Zach Braff probably a pretty good, Daxter. Honestly, Daxter's annoying. Zach Braff's annoying.
Oh fuck! Why you gotta be like that? I could see it. It's a little. It doesn't hit right. It feels off.
I mean, it is off. Could you imagine Jack Nicholson playing Jack?
No.
We gotta get the green eco.
When did the Batman films in the 80s? That was like 85, like 87, right?
Something like that, like 86, yeah.
Jack Nicholson would have been around about 50 when he did those.
Yeah, I think so.
That is an old Joker.
Well, Joker's kind of interesting because he's not really like... He doesn't really have an age. Like,
it's timeless.
Well, but he doesn't, right? Because it's like, Batman kind of has ages, right? Like he is either... Like, how old he is because how old Bruce Wayne is in those movies. Because so the Joker in the 80s, you haven't seen that movie, have you?
No, I've seen Batman and Batman Returns.
Oh, okay. Well, like in that one, like the Joker has an alter ego, which is different. He doesn't usually.
Shit, does he? I totally forgot that.
Like,
it's been a long time.
Because you see him become the Joker at the beginning. He's just like a corrupt business guy,
right?
And then he falls into the vat, and then he becomes Joker. What? He gets Jokerfied.
I didn't realize he was not a Joker by society turning on society. He's a Joker via vat.
Yeah. Kinda, he is. His name's Jack Napier in that movie.
Man,
like he's got a name, and he's like a sleazy business guy. Yeah.
1989 Batman movie.
Right.
So he's 52.
I don't 100% remember where this was going, but yeah,
Jack and Dax.
Well, it was more that he was quite old in that movie, but that's because you can sort of see how old he was. In the comics, the Joker has always looked basically the same, right? Smiley, like wrinkly, but not age wrinkle. It's always laugh line, so you can't really tell how old he is because he's smiling.
So like the biggest smile lines because he just has the biggest smile.
Yeah. The oldest Joker's probably looked is like the Arkham games, and that's also because he's very sick.
That's because everyone in those games is wrinkly and there's something about those Arkham games. We're totally off track here, but
that's fine.
So there's something about those Arkham games where I just don't like the style.
Really?
I know when I was talking about, was it Gotham Knights last week that I was talking about that, or the week before? I think it was last week.
Well, it probably was last week.
And like I was looking at how people were saying, "Oh, Arkham Knight looks better and it's a 7-year-old game," and I just totally disagree. I think I way prefer the style of Gotham Knights compared to Arkham. It doesn't say much with its style, but I prefer it.
Yeah, I don't like the style of Arkham Knight.
It's
Sorry, not
plain.
Arkham Knight, Gotham Knights. Like, because I watched the opening and the final cutscenes, and they all just look so fucking boring to me.
Yeah, it's pretty plain, but the Arkham style is stylized in a way where I feel like they took. You know how when Gears of War came out, Unreal Tournament 3 came out around the same time, and they looked 100% identical because it was like the Unreal Engine is good at making muscly bro dudes and like red concrete, and like that was it.
Mean, I think
I
it's
feel
more
like they just jammed the Arkham games through an Unreal sieve. And that's the style we got. We just got Batman pushed through the Unreal 3 engine.
Well, Unreal 3, like Unreal Tournament and Gears were made by the same studio. Like,
no, I know, but it looks like they were made with the same assets and like it was the same style.
Nah, like
biggest muscly bro dudes you've ever seen in your life.
I mean, like they're big and ripped in Arkham, but like, you know, they're also very stylized, you know, like it's not like they don't look like they're the Gears meatheads.
No, that's true. That's why I'm saying it. You know, it's like equal parts Unreal, equal parts Batman. Like it is true to Batman. It is not like they just put like Dom in a Joker costume.
It's speaking of John DiMaggio.
Exactly. But it's halfway between both, and it's a weird middle ground that I've never really enjoyed that much.
Yeah, right. No, I think the Arkham games look great.
Most people do. Anyway, what the fuck are we doing here? Jak and Daxter, right?
Well, I mean, we figured it out.
We did figure it out. Yeah. Let me see. The shooting of the... Yeah, I've said everything. I've said everything I wrote down. We did it. You can have this one. Sucker Punch.
/ Insomniac if you want it.
/ Respawn Games.
Yeah, not really.
You know, Jeremy, I keep seeing... I'm just in tangent mode, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I keep seeing random footage of Fallen Order, and I'm like, I might replay that game. I just really like that game.
It runs great on the new consoles.
It does. I've got it on PC, but it's on Game Pass.
It's got,
I don't know.
The boost mode on Game Pass is great. It's really
they had
solid.
so many updates though. Like I maybe don't want to start a new file. Like I'd rather do a new Game Plus kind of situation. I think I have to reset up the streaming to the Xbox. I have to get that going on Moonlight again. Maybe that would work.
Do you have it on Origin?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Because I bought a physical copy from work.
Ah.
And I price matched it. And so when it came out, I got it for like $69 or something.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it, everybody, for this returning segment. You can have this one. Good work, Jeremy. On the title there.
Thank you.
We're gonna go on a quick break. Have a break. Have a chat with the chat on Twitch. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the games we played this week. Stick around. We'll be right back. Shut up. Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. This is us back from the break, talking about Jeremy's recent retro game collections. Jeremy?
Yes.
I've only played a few things this week that I can talk about. I can't talk about Fortnite because it's not a Fortnite.
Nope.
And the other thing I'm playing the most is embargoed for the time being. So instead, let's start this section with what you've been playing, which is Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, the sequel to Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Yeah, I've been playing that game.
How do you feel about it, Jeremy?
I think it's real good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really fun.
Can you, for me and the audience, can you please remind us what your experience and fondness levels for the first game were?
So, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, the prequel,
2017,
the predecessor, I think is maybe a bit better way to describe it. I didn't play much of it. I probably played about 4 hours of it or 3 hours of it. Like got through all the tutorials and stuff. I got into the main game. But like when I bought it, I was just playing other games at the same time, and I probably shouldn't have bought it when I did. And so I just didn't fall into it because I was also playing other stuff at the same time. I remember enjoying it, but I didn't think it was like it didn't pull me away from the other games that I was playing. And that's not to say that I wouldn't have if I kept going, but I just pretty much started it at the wrong time. This one I'm enjoying a fair bit more, actually. So for those who don't know, it is a tactical RPG, which is hilarious because it's a Mario and Rabbids game. We have a cast of
similar
characters.
to XCOM.
Yes, very similar to XCOM. So you, the structure of the game is you have a cast. You've got a group of friends. You know, the Mario mains, we'll say, Mario, Luigi, Peach,
and their Rabbid spin-offs.
and then their Rabbid spin-off. So you got Rabbids Mario, Rabbid Luigi, Peach Rabbid, and there's also like an original Rabbid character as well, whose name I've forgotten. She's like an
There's Rosalina too, right?
Yeah, but I haven't like seen her yet. Like she's in the game, but like she hasn't popped up yet for me.
How many hours have you spent?
I don't know. Because I've been playing it on and off. Like, you know, half an hour here, 15 minutes here, a couple hours here. Probably about 7 hours, maybe. I've been taking my time with it. The way it works is you go around the overworld. You and your cast of merry adventurers, and then when you walk into an enemy, an instance battle shows up, and you get thrown into a what is like a little like battle zone. And it used to be grid based. Now it is no longer grid based. Now it is just free to roam, to walk around within an area. And you've got action points, and you've got like basically like an attack phase where you can move your little dudes around. You attack the enemy through like similar to what XCOM is. So like every attack has got like a radius and like damage numbers, and cover still works the same as it used to, but it's just a little bit more you just like magnet to it now, as opposed to having to like go into a grid. And then it's, you know, about like lining up your shots and flanking and using your abilities and all that stuff. Something that's cool in this one is that you can dash through enemies to sort of get like a cheeky attack on them if you're close enough to them, and then you can use one of your attacks. When you use your attack, that is when you stop moving. So you can use your abilities and still walk around. But the moment you use your attack, you are then locked in place until the end of the turn. You can also run around and jump off of each other to then gain more distance. So you basically one of you launches the other one in the air, and then you can glide a little bit further than you usually would be able to if you were just running around. There is experience, there is skill points, there's skill trees, and they're all pretty basic. There's like 4 small trees per character. And currently I've got 3 members in my party. I'm not sure if that gets increased to 4 later on, because it did start off with only 2, and then I gained a 3rd slot, which I thought was interesting. That was a good way to sort of bring you into the combat slower than what you like, cleaner, tutorialize a little bit more, not overload you with everything.
Just reduced complexity.
Yeah. And yeah, like Mario's got like all the all the characters got different weapons. You know, Mario's got like dual blasters, and Rabbid Mario has got like big gloves. Also, Rabbid Mario, I forgot, is like an Italian plumber, like an Italian American, like, hey, how you doing? Like kind of like a New York guy, which is very funny. He's one of the funniest.
Is it still weird to see Mario with guns?
I'm getting more used to it now. It is a little bit odd at times, mostly because when you use your ability, this kind of like flashy cutscene plays every time, which you can skip every time you want to play it. But like it's about 3 seconds, and at 3 seconds of like this like Mario in like this like darkness dimension, and he's like holding his guns and he goes like that with him or something like it's like, and there's like this like really serious thing, and one of Luigi's powers is his like really intense stare, which I think is a reference to the Mario Kart meme that came out of Luigi doing his death stare.
Where he like death stares the camera.
I don't remember if that was the original game or not, but I feel like it's a reference to the Mario Kart thing. If not, that's my headcanon. And yeah, there's something that is new to this game, I believe, is that you can then there are like these the little stars from Mario Galaxy. They're in this as Rabbid versions. And you can then assign one to each of the characters, and they have additional abilities as well. So that you can create a little bit more synergy with some of the special abilities that you've got by assigning certain star things to certain characters that makes your team feel a little bit more cohesive, and like I said, create a little bit more synergy across your team members. None of the team members I think are very bad. I think they're actually all quite fun and all have a good use. So it's more about like how you want to approach battles, I guess. Luigi's a long range character. Peach is all about like defense and like damage nullifying. Mario's like the all rounder as he always is, but Rabbid Mario is all about like damage per turn, but on a very short range. They're all quite fun. I'm finding the game quite easy, at least at the moment. I've only lost a battle once, and that was because I accidentally entered a battle that is much higher level than what I was by mistake. And then I came back a few hours in game later, and I got it down pretty well. There's also different win conditions. Some battles are defeat all the enemies. That's the pretty standard one. Sometimes they are like get a character to the end of this zone, and you've got to kind of just run a gauntlet. Some of them are just survive 8 turns or so, and they'll just be an endless stream of enemies coming at you, and you just got to get one of the characters to survive at the end. And yeah, like aside from that, like there's like the overworlds are quite cool. The first one you go to is like on this beach that's raining, and it feels very classic Mario, that style thing. You go to a beach, it's raining. You then go through like a bunch of buildings, you meet a bunch of silly rabbits doing all silly, dumb, goofy things, and then you free the starlight little thing that then turns the lighthouse on, and the rain clears, and you beat a boss, and you get rid of the Dark Mess is the name of the villain. And then
Dark Mess.
Yeah, right. And then the world is sunny again, and so more things are then open to you to explore this little zone to you once more. It's funny exploring.
That's cool.
Yeah, like it's cool. It's good. It's funny exploring a Mario zone knowing it's not a platforming area, because you don't jump in this game. There's no jumping.
Right, until you're in battle and then you jump on your friends' heads.
Yeah, and it's all about enemies and attacking at that point, which is funny. So yeah, it is interesting exploring these worlds, and it's all ramps, right? It's all ramps and ladders.
Yeah, and stairs. And
yeah. What I did find interestingly enough was what the equivalent to a Captain Toad's treasure tracker. Captain Toad's treasure tracker?
That's what I think it is, treasure tracker.
I entered a world.
Captain Toad treasure tracker.
Yeah, I entered a world that is that. And there are enemies running around, and you got to explore what is essentially a Captain Toad level. In this
bizarre.
It's kind of neat. They're kind of playing off a lot of different Mario trips, right? You know, they're doing the galaxy stuff. They're talking about Rosalina, you know, having all the star bits and going different worlds and all that stuff. It's all about like some intergalactic like force that wants to ruin stuff.
Go
I don't
on.
know. Look, it's a Mario story, right? Like, who cares? Graphics wise, it's really fun. It's really nice to look at. It's not like the most graphically impressive world. Like, I'm not having like, oh my god moments like I was like in Odyssey at some points. But like it's good. It's nice to look at. I'm finding the music to be a little bit like nothing.
Didn't Grant Kirkhope do this one?
I feel like I can barely hear it. It seems really quiet, and I've checked my music settings, and it is full and it is not loud. So like I'm almost at the point where I'm going to turn down all the other sound effects so that the music comes through clearer, and then turn up just the overall level of the console. But yeah, I haven't really known. Like in battle, it's fine, but out of battle, I want a little bit more like adventure music.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also hard because like Mario music is so good, and then it not being Mario level music, like what are you gonna do? You can put different skins on weapons, which is fun. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's just a fun, cool game. I feel like I have to play it in bursts of 2 hours at maximum.
Right.
Because
get a bit over it.
A little bit. I wonder if I won't if I turn it up a little bit. Because a lot of it is like I can see a couple turns ahead. And it's just about like executing it, and like it takes no small amount of time sometimes. But
it hasn't been too complex for you though.
Not yet, no. Like the hardest battle I did was interesting because it was a survive 6 turns level where there were like these little like they kind of look like Kamek, but it's not. They're just like dudes in robes that throw magic at you. And like they're like Rabbids' original villains. And a bunch of Goombas who have got steel like cooking saucepans on their head. And if they have the saucepans on their head, you can't shoot them. You don't do any damage to them. But they only have like 1 or so health, and you have to dash into them. But you've got a limited amount of dashes per turn, and so you had to manage where you are placing your characters for these 6 turns. As these Goombas would come and just fuck you up over and over and over and over again. And if you dash into them, you tip them upside down. You can pick them up and just throw them like out of bounds and kill them that way. That took a little bit more of my brain to sort of like, okay, like this is different. Like, how do I work this puzzle? Yeah, no, like it's cool though. I'm having a very fun time with it. The writing is silly and it is goofy and whimsical in a way that I'm enjoying. There is fun. Go back to an area inside of this level that you've been to prior now that you've got a key and stuff. And, you know, collecting coins and doing side quests for some of the Rabbids will get you, like, planet-specific currency, which you can then take to the shop to buy planet-specific coins. It's a really fun game.
Great.
I don't really have any major complaints. I do wonder if kids would not be overwhelmed by how complicated it can be, because, you know, there's status effects, there's... you know, percentages of, you know, like there's an enemy that's behind halfway cover. If I've only got a 50% chance of getting him, but if I go over here, I've got 100%, but if I go over here, then 0%. And because there's different elevation in these levels as well. So sometimes you need to get closer to the edge so you can actually hit them or not, because it'll say like, hey, this one's in range, but you've got a 0% chance of hitting it because you're not close enough to the ledge that you would just shoot into the ground. Or like some of the status effects, which is like if you get hit by a fire infused bullet, for example, you do the run around like the like ow, whoa, 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 and then you like, and it makes whoever gets hit run randomly around, and then they might be out in the complete open, and they can get fucked when that happens.
Right.
So I do wonder if that's a little bit overwhelming for like young kids. Especially considering that it's like a G or PG game and it's got Mario and Rabbids on the front, they might be a bit overwhelmed by it all.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I always felt that was like a potential for happening. There was a potential for that happening with the first Mario Rabbids game. Like, really, you guys are bringing XCOM to the 8-year-olds? Interesting.
yeah,
Um,
I think for 10 to like maybe 10 to 12 and above,
yeah.
I think it's good. There is a lot of reading in the game. Anything
Hmm.
below 10, I don't know if they would be able to take it all in a way that would allow them to enjoy the game as much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that being said, like,
Like kids got into Age
you
of
know, we always got
Empires.
through Pokemon games and Zelda games. They've hardly ever had voice acting. Like,
Sure. But
yeah.
I feel like there is less there are less options in Pokemon. Pokemon handholds you all the way to being stronger. Whereas
Oh,
like
I just meant in terms of the reading.
sure. But like in terms of like understanding what's going on, like in taking what all the words and numbers mean might be a little bit more than what Pokemon is.
Yeah, I mean, something from Kind of Funny that was always funny was that Tim Geddes, when he was growing up, he was so desperate to play the second gen of Pokemon that he imported like Crystal or Gold or Silver from Japan, and it was in Japanese,
Yeah,
and he just
right.
played through that whole game in Japanese. Like, but he was like a 5-year-old kid from America. He didn't know how to do any of that, but he was just so desperate to play that he just kind of pushed through.
Yeah, and like look, I guess like kids played, Final Fantasy, like 8-year-olds played Final Fantasy 7 when it came out.
Mm,
So
yeah.
but yeah, like
When,
it's I'm having a very fun time.
I'm glad. That's great. You saying that it might be difficult for young kids has reminded me of when I picked up Oracle of Ages, the Capcom Game Boy Color Zelda game,
Mhm.
which was very Link's Awakening, Link to the Past inspired, that sort of 2D style. But there were the two games, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. And Seasons was meant to be the more combat focused one, and Ages is more like puzzle focused. And those 2D games, their puzzles can be quite obtuse. And so I just got stuck in that game, and I never made it past like the second dungeon or something because it was tricky.
Yeah, right.
So it's just made me think of that in a way.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear if you get through it. I like the idea of something that's just a bit more not wholehearted. That's the wrong word. It's the wrong way of thinking about it. But like the something that is just unabashedly simple and fun and cute and just the game.
Yeah, like I'm glad that this weird partnership that they've got going on between UB and Nintendo. Like I'm glad it has yielded not just the one project.
Totally.
And I enjoy the different the it being different, right? Because it's a very similar game, but it is enough different that I don't feel like I'm just playing the first one.
That's cool.
And I hope they continue that, right? Like and I mean that in a way, like I enjoy seeing them experiment a little bit with this formula.
Definitely.
Whether or not it's like
Rewarding, right?
yeah, like whether this one is like the third one, for example, if it's similar where like you're still walking around in a zone, but maybe there's a little bit more real timeness to it. Like some of the enemies, for example, there's like these big like tiger enemies, like tiger bear things. They will walk around while your turn is going on, but only when they're attacked. Which is kind of an interesting little twist on the formula. So like if you attack this enemy, after you attack it, it will then move while it's still your turn. Not for the entirety of your turn, but it'll walk a certain distance towards you. Which also means that if you use like a move that means when an enemy will move within Luigi's line of sight or whatever, he takes an additional shot. It means you can do that while your turn is still happening because his ability activates the moment that enemy moves. So you can kind of get a whole bunch of hits in even before you've like finished your turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Good.
It's a fun game. Like I didn't expect it not to be, but it's fun.
That's great. Yeah. That's awesome. I sort of had an experience like that yesterday. I'll only touch on this briefly, but when I was playing Fortnite last night, like it was coming after like I hadn't mentioned this to you, but there's this YouTuber I watch, whose videos I strongly copied. This is Tio. And it's sort of where I cut my teeth with editing, was sort of making videos that were like his, but for us, and playing PUBG and Apex. And put out a tweet saying he's looking for a part-time editor on Friday. And so I started going through the sort of supplied material to have a look, see if I wanted to apply for this. And I put a couple of hours in, and I was saying, you know, I think you should do this. You should push to try and do this, even if you don't accept it. If they do offer it to you, I'm like, yeah, no, that's a good point. And I got like 2 hours in, and I started doing like the subtitling, and I'm like, oh, fuck. This takes so long. And point being, I was feeling weighed down by the day, right? Like, sort of, it was out longer than I thought we would be, and I had to do stuff for my passport, and looking at documents, and arranging like dinner, and who was to be doing what, and all of that stuff. And I was feeling bogged down by the day. And I just I got to a point, I'm like, that's it. I've had enough. I'm going to play some Fortnite. And just played like 2 hours. And it was just fun. I totally clocked off in a way that I haven't when playing a game in a long time, if that makes sense.
Right.
I wasn't thinking about notes for the show. I wasn't thinking about whether I was wasting my time. I wasn't thinking about whether I should be playing something else or like listening to a podcast at the same time. I just let go and have fun. And it sounds like, from your description of Sparks of Hope, it sounds like there's a lot of room to be able to do that with that game. Like it draws you in and lets you just be in that space.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like, I don't...
Not that some games do and some games don't, but it sounds like this is conducive to that. At least it's striking me that way.
I think because the combat is quite similar every battle. Like, it's different enough where you're in a different zone and you're fighting like a different group of enemies, even though you're fighting the same ones. Like, there's enough variety between the missions, but enough similarity between the missions that I'm not turning my brain all the way off, but I can cruise through it a little bit. It doesn't require a whole lot of active brain power until it gets to like boss battles or some of like the more tricky specific, like, hey, this is a hard one. You want to play the hard battle? That there's like a level of passiveness that you can take through it. At least in my experience. And I think that's fun, but that will get old. That will dry up a little bit, which is why I want to crank up the difficulty a little bit. Because like as a puzzle to be solved, it doesn't have for me, it doesn't have the legs to cruise through. I need a little bit more. It kind of like Doom, right? Like one of the most exciting things about playing Doom is getting good at Doom and then cranking the difficulty up and then matching it again and then cranking it up and then matching it again and fighting against it and overcoming that challenge of like the rhythm and the beats and like that, or like, you know, like the state of flow that people always talk about when it comes to Doom. Like a lot of that comes from you having a like getting into that trance level, right? Where you are connecting with it on a level where you're not actively thinking about it, but you're just doing it.
Yeah.
But you're not cruising through it.
You're engaged and you're making decisions.
Yeah, like you're with it at like every moment and every beat. And when like this game is not unlike that in a similar sense where you need to like I feel like I need to be constantly hitting that mark and matching that speed. That I don't enjoy playing this game on an easy difficulty. I'm sure some people do. That's what it's there for. Like it's got like I looked at the settings and there's a host of accessibility options in regards to difficulty. You know, like you just want to be invincible, or you want the enemies to be really stupid, or like, you know, you want to only do like 100% accuracy, I think it was one, or something like that, right? Like, whereas like you can sort of like adjust the difficulty how you want it to be. But for me, I like that, like, okay, like let's just keep this going a little bit harder. Let's just keep this going a little bit harder. Like, give me like the challenge is for me what makes that game fun. Same with XCOM. Yeah. Like, you know, it's about the best XCOM games I've ever played is when I've just fucking made it, right? By like the skin of your teeth.
Fair enough. Well, that's cool. let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
I've only got a couple of small things to touch on here. Like I said before, I was playing more Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil Village during the weekend. Really enjoying how silly and fun this game is. It is taking itself seriously, but it's so silly that it's hard to take seriously at times. So I replayed the Dollhouse on stream, and I did that because I played off stream last weekend. So playing it this weekend, I was like, I hope I can do good enough content with this. Like, I won't be surprised by too much. I wonder if I'll even be scared. Yes, it turns out I absolutely was scared playing it again for the second time, which I was not excited about.
Nice.
And that made for a better stream, but I was like, I'm not disappointed, but I am, because I thought I could be immune, but that would have been bad content. But yeah.
Did you just do the Dollhouse and then stop, or?
No. I went much, much further. So after the Dollhouse, went through the village again, tried to see what I could unlock with like the new things that I had.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't much at that point. And then what was the third area? Went to Moreau's, went to the clinic and the reservoir. That's right.
Yeah.
It was Moreau's reservoir. He's the fish man, the man with a fish on his back.
Yeah.
Who just talks strangely and is a bit pathetic.
Yeah.
But
kind of sad.
Still manages to get one up on Ethan because Ethan's just so gullible. Like, it gets to a point where Ethan gets the flask, which is part of his daughter, and then just like stands there and rubs it in this guy's face for 60 seconds while this guy like slowly like blocks him in, like without him noticing. And then he turns into a fish, and you bump into Chris Redfield, who gives you no answers and just antagonizes you for 60 seconds. He's like,
Yeah.
Stay out of my way, Ethan!
Yeah.
As if he hadn't just killed your wife and stolen your daughter and brought you to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Oh, I love Chris so much. He's such a prick.
He's such a prick in this game. I don't know why. Like, a lot of this game is just about not giving you the answers. Like, everything is just off. Everything is just
the punishment of Ethan Winters.
Yeah, it's just like you're not going to understand what's going on. All you know is that your daughter has been distilled into liquid and you need to get her 4 flasks.
But fuck you for asking.
Yeah. Stay out of my way, Ethan. This has got nothing to do with you.
Oh, he's so jacked too. He's so fucking huge in this game.
He's got that great coat.
Oh, I love that coat. I wish that coat wasn't like $400 or whatever Capcom are selling it for.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just really silly. So then you go up you walk through the flooded town, and Moreau's trying to like bash you the whole time as a gigantic fish, and then you drain the lake, and then he starts climbing around, and there's acid rain, and it all gets a bit much. So killed Moreau, walked out. Every time you collect a new flask, it says collect Rose 3 out of 4, which is like weird.
So funny.
I start putting Rose's flask into this dais in the middle of the town, and that's like, why wouldn't you hang on to these? That's really weird. And then I go back to the village and I start ticking off all of the extra objectives. So I found there's this grave near the dollhouse for Claudia Beneviento. But her nameplate is like chipped off. It just says like Beneviento. And so I found the rest of the plaque and was like, oh, let's go back. And on the map, it's got a little chest there. I'm like, oh, great, there's a thing there. Let's go back and I'll unlock the thing. You walk into that area and there's a 12-foot giant with an axe standing there. It's like, whoa, what the fuck? And I just used all my ammo in the area I was in before and didn't have anything to craft with. So I was like, I guess we'll come back. So eventually I find the Magnum, the werewolf killer.
Yeah, nice.
Plus the grenade launcher. I'm like, this guy's dead. So we go, and I just grenade launch this guy over and over, and you can kind of like goad him your way, run away, and then he turns around because he can't walk too far away from the grave. So just kind of plink at him, run away, plink at him. Takes forever with the grenade launcher, and then I start with the shotgun and this and that. And then someone in chat was like, right after I kill him, someone in chat was like, you didn't use the Magnum. I'm like, crap. And they're like, the Magnum's really worth it. You should like maybe even reload it to try with the Magnum. I'm like, okay. Especially because like, they were like, oh, you didn't use the Magnum. And I started trying to take out the smaller zombies with it. And I just missed like 4 times with my like 6 bullets. And my chat was like, Kerry, no.
That's funny.
So I went back and I did it with the revolver. It went down to like 3 hits. I'm like, what's the point of this grenade launcher? It doesn't even take out any of the original enemies on their own. Anyways, it's just a bunch of silly stuff. And then we get to the section where Heisenberg speaks to you with his very strange, excellent voice.
Oh, so good. How awesome is his voice?
It's so unique. It's almost like Nick Cage.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying, right? Like I'm almost certain I mentioned Nick Cage when I was first talking about this game when talking about Heisenberg, but like it's like a stage play.
Yeah.
Everybody is a character actor. Everyone is an archetype to be played, right? They're not characters, they're all just emotions.
Yeah. The distillations.
Yeah.
Yeah, except Donna, she's just there to give you scares and make you see things that aren't actually there.
Who's Donna?
Donna's the person who controls the puppet, who makes you see things.
Oh, right. I mean, yeah, but like the puppet's the character.
Yeah, but the actual villain there is Donna.
Yeah, I know, but like the puppet.
Yeah.
Frankenstein was the real villain.
I mean, even then with Angie, you only fight her for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, but she's fucking terrifying.
She is. So yeah, then we get to the section with Heisenberg where you go into the Lichen den.
The Foundry.
No, not even the Foundry. You go into like, I thought we were approaching the Foundry, but no, you go into like you go into the Lichen den, which is just, it's like it's a stronghold is what it is.
Right.
Lots of old bricks. It's a combat gauntlet.
Right.
And I really didn't like this section. Partly because it had really bad checkpointing. I got like 90% of the way through a really long encounter and died. And it took me back to like much further past the combat encounter. I'm like, okay, that's bad. To the point where I did a couple of things and then walked through the village to save at Duke's. So I didn't have to do that stuff again.
Yeah, right.
And even then I had a bunch of encounter stuff in my way. But it was where you just have to kill like 15 or 20 wolfmen. And at that point, like I was really getting into the sort of like, try and aim your headshots. They're gonna dive and scramble out of the way. But for like 2 or 3 enemies in the village, right? And there's the werewolf that attacks, the full wolf that attacks you. That's pretty interesting. But them just throwing so many enemies at me, it grew really old really quickly.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that that's coming up. It's the artificial, like we need to like, we got to bring down your ammo, bud. Like,
yeah,
it's the like we got a survival game here. Like this is like we need you to feel weak again.
And like I just felt like I was fighting the mechanics of the game at that point. Like you can't shoot fast enough, you can't move or aim or craft or heal fast enough or block fast enough.
Sure.
And that's why it's hard. I'm like, that's not fun.
Yeah.
That's just me scrambling.
It falls into that trap once or twice.
Yeah.
It's worth pushing through. You're about to get to a really fun section.
So I got through the werewolf den.
Oh, okay,
I did
cool.
do it.
Right.
And it was funny because you get past the droves of enemies, and we're getting through here. I'm like, oh, hang on, what about that guy? I was saying to Chad, I was like, what about that guy who rode in on a horse right at the start, and then they got called away, and then he like jumps in through the roof. I'm like, oh, here he is, big axe guy. That combat encounter I didn't mind. There's like running around the pillars, and then he picks them up and throws them at you.
Yeah.
And then he like calls in reinforcements. So I'm like, okay, he's calling reinforcements. I got enough time to reload my grenade launcher, and that should take out the enemies as they drop.
Yeah, yeah.
So just stuff like that. That was fun.
Yeah.
And then I got to the start of the Foundry, and then I called it for the day. But I was like, we'll see what happens. So Heisenberg's monologuing as I walk up, and and
Ethan
walk inside.
Winters.
Ethan Winters.
I
He talks weirdly. He says when he's talking about Mother Miranda, he says Mother Miranda.
Yeah,
puts an R on it.
yeah. Mother
There's no R on Miranda. And so he's like, I just want to have a talk, Ethan.
Yeah.
And then like opens up this like chute behind to like talk to someone who sounds like a chainsaw, and that's weird.
Oh yeah.
And then puts a chair down in front of it. He's like, I just want to have a talk. I'm like, oh, we're clearly going in that hole. He's clearly knocking us off that chair into that hole. So 5 minutes later, he's talking. He wants to use your daughter, and you can take down Mother Miranda together because he's a jilted child or whatever. And Ethan's like, "Fuck you! You want to use my kid? My kid's not something to be used." And he tosses you into the hole. And I'm like, "All right, let's see what this chainsaw thing is that he's been talking to." And then this big gate opens in the wall. And a massive, a literal giant like jumps through with a propeller for a head. I'm like, oh, this is sick.
Yeah,
this is like Final Fantasy VII Hell House kind of vibes. Just more ridiculous than you could have ever thought.
Do you like Soma?
Yeah, it's so funny.
It's awesome.
I didn't go
It's
any
so
further than
cool.
that. It's just like the turn and run, and then I saved and quit at that point.
Yeah,
but
good,
like,
good. Yeah,
and
this part is fucking so fun.
so fun, so silly.
Yeah.
Just
The propeller is so funny. It's so goofy.
it doesn't make any sense.
No,
you
not
know,
at
that's
all.
not bioweapon. That's just like that's Frankensteinian at that point. But yeah, this game's so fun and so silly, and it was really fun going through all the side objectives, picking up all of I found a bunch of the valuable stuff, took down a bunch of the extra bosses. It was just fun to do that.
Yeah.
I really like the exploration in that game outside of the like scripted Lord encounters, the castle and the dam and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I kind of really like just the village and how it opens up to you slowly.
Yeah, that's what's honestly so great about the Resident Evil games is how much they are exploration survival puzzle games, right? Like you are trying to figure out how to do stuff consistently and trying to go like, well, what can I do here and what is this over there and all of this stuff. Like it is so fun to do that stuff that you don't get in a lot of these games. Or that you don't get in a lot of games that are this genre, right? Like these horror survival puzzle games. It's sort of just Resident Evil.
Yeah, it is, which is cool.
It's great.
Like,
it's so fun.
Good on them. I'm excited to see.
They're
what
all
the
like
reception
that
is
too.
for the Yeah, I mean the older ones are a bit more obtuse, right? Where it's a bit like, oh, I have to go back to this area where for some reason that leads outside, and that trapdoor. I now have a screwdriver that I can use on this gate or something.
Like they didn't have the bandwidth to make an entire giant bespoke areas like they do now. So like it's different. Like Resident Evil 7 is a lot more like the originals where like you're around like a centralized mansion, but like, the vampire castle in 8 is like an entire Resident Evil game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. Like I've said this already, but I am interested to see the other games now that I've played this one.
I would love you to play 2.
Yeah. And I'm interested to see what the reception is to the DLC that's just come out, I think, for 8.
It's been like positive. Some people are saying it's improving on some really interesting things that 8 does, which I think is cool. I'll give it a go. I'm not as keen to play the DLC in third person, I think.
Right.
I think 8 works so well in first person.
I'm interested to try it in first person. I did download that demo.
Third person.
But yeah, sorry, I'm interested to try it in third person. But yeah. The only other thing we've got here is Marvel Snap.
Marvel Snap.
And I've got it here because like I downloaded it when I saw that it's available on Steam. And turns out it's got a pretty buggy app.
Yeah.
Although it turns out it's only about as buggy as the actual in-game mobile phone app is.
It is literally the same thing.
which is cool. I like that. I'm down for that.
I'm not.
It's also very silly that it doesn't have a quit button because you're just meant to use like your home button on your phone.
One of the first things that I noticed.
So funny.
So dumb.
But yeah, I got to try the game. It's really, I really do like this game, and I really like how simple it is. I don't understand why everyone's so jazzed about it and everyone's obsessed with it and everyone's playing it daily. For that for me, I don't quite understand. I to the point where it's like I kind of find the game's simplicity and like ease of play too simple for me to bother spinning it up. I would much rather play a bigger game that's on my to-do list at the moment than load up Marvel Snap.
Right, but you're not playing it on your phone.
I have wondered if that's part of it.
I mean, it is. Like, games are short.
But
games are like 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Like 3 minutes max. Like, and you just load up on your phone and knock out a couple of dailies while I'm eating a sandwich and then close it again. People aren't playing it on the computer. Like, people are, but like, people are playing it on the phone.
Yeah, but people are talking about it like they're talking about games that they would be playing on the computer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just hearing people be like, oh man, Marvel Snap is so good. It's like...
Yeah, because it's here. Because I can just load it up. It's a phone game.
Yeah. I'm just not interested in that.
Yeah, but like neither of us have phones that can do this super well.
Yeah, no, it would destroy my battery to load up this game.
Yeah, it destroys mine. Although, to be fair, it's got a quality setting and it's got an FPS limiter. You can limit it to 30 FPS. It's
the kind of thing, though, it's like, as soon as you load a game on my phone, like, I've instantly lost 30% on it. You know what I mean? Not literally, but 30% of, like, it will just drain faster having launched a game in that power cycle.
Give this a shot on your phone. I am curious, just to see how well it goes, because this does have quality settings that do limit a lot of the flashy effects, and you being able to cap it to 30 FPS does save my battery noticeably, and my battery is also shite.
Okay,
but yeah, the reason it works so well is because it is this, like, you know, one, it's, you know, part of the new hotness. It's a very approachable game.
Yeah. And also it's got Marvel attached to it.
I think that's a boon in the sense of like character recognition.
Yeah.
But like, I've seen people who like don't like Marvel playing this. I've seen people on Twitter being like, I love this game. I just wish it wasn't Marvel.
Yeah, it is a very interesting format for a deck game, and it is great to see that it is fast too. Sort of the 3 locations, and you just kind of put down as many cards as you can in 6 turns. Like, you're really not putting that many cards unless you've built a deck that can do it. I guess that's putting me off as well. I'm not looking forward to getting steamrolled by mechanics that I haven't grasped yet, or I can't play with yet.
So like, the good thing is, because it's ranked at the moment, you're only playing against people who are in the same bandwidth as you.
Right.
And so you're not really playing against people who have got a bunch of cards you don't have.
Okay.
Realistically. Like, you will occasionally, but not nearly as much as you might be concerned about. While I go up the rank, usually as I go up the rank, I will see cards and get them pretty close to each other.
Right, okay. Which does a good job of sort of initiating you into that mechanic and what they bring to the table.
Yeah, it will be tricky to continue that. As, for example, I played in the first season, and then because I didn't play for 2 seasons, I got put back all the way down to like iron or whatever. But I already have a bunch of cards. But also, I'm still not like winning. So like I'm not winning all the time. Not nearly as much as I was when I first played. So I think it still is doing some. Because you've got a score which is like this is your like the score for how collectible your cards are. I wonder if it's also based on that they want to keep that bandwidth similar as well.
Yeah.
Because then at that point you've got a same level of experience playing the game as well as the same level of ability. I am curious about that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty approachable game that is going to be very easy to go, oh no, I played this for 2 hours. I can actually see you doing that.
The moorishness is there.
Yes, but I can also see you doing that.
I don't want to believe that the format is the only thing holding me back from liking it, but it really just might be.
Like, it's a mobile game. Like, it's made for the phone.
Yeah, in my head, I just want to be able to... I don't know, there's something about that being different if I play it on my phone that bothers me.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, if I play it through Steam, I want to be able to be as hooked as other people.
You will be, but I think the phone has to come first.
Yeah.
2048 wouldn't have been as enjoyable if it was on the PC first.
Oh, God, you're so right.
You ever want to play Doodle Jump on the phone? Sorry, on the computer? No.
Oh, so I saw so many people play Doodle Jump on the computer. Are you kidding me?
But because they played it on the phone first. You know, it's all that... We can keep going if you'd like.
No, it's fine.
If you're curious about that, we had an entire topic about why it matters where you play games.
Yeah, we did. I want to be malleable, Jeremy. I want to be able to play anything, anywhere, and approach it the same. But it just doesn't work like that. And that bothers me for some reason.
I don't know.
I can't figure out.
I don't know why it bothers you, but also it is very important to note that people who make games take very, very cautious steps to figure out where they're playing these games.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah. Well, on that grumpy note, we're going to finish off for the week, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week.
Where I've had my thoughts on V-Rally.
Yeah, Jeremy went to a swap meet this week and got a couple of retro games.
That wasn't a swap meet.
You going to play them this week?
No, definitely not.
Okay, I didn't think so.
It wasn't a swap meet. It's just a second-hand store.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yes. I always heard the word swap meet, and it always sounded this like this mythical market thing. This sort of like generous, like, oh, you went to a swap meet. Wow, what's that like? That's cool. And that's just because I never went to one. But like,
Sam is asking me. Sam is saying that they would watch me stream V-Rally, and I cannot tell you how many things that have to be unplugged and replugged because the PS1 doesn't do HDMI. I could do it.
You need a retro Tink.
I'd
2X Pro.
No. I would just need my Hauppauge HD PVR capture.
Your Hauppauge.
My Hauppauge. Or the Dazzle. The Dazzle would do it.
The Dazzle. I forgot you've got like now retro video capture devices.
Yeah, I've been capturing video on consoles for like quite a while now. It's been over 10 years.
Says there's just a camera on your CRT.
Oh god, that would be dreadful.
Absolutely not. Stop considering it, Jeremy. It's not worth it.
I would have to. I'd have
flicker lines, the scan lines.
I would have to get one that has got a like not a shutter speed because that's physical, but like a refresh rate that matches the hertz. Monitor. Yeah. Which is probably it's probably 59 hertz because it's a PAL CRT.
Maybe, who knows?
I'm not doing it. It's not happening. I can't.
No. That would be very silly. But it's funny to hear though.
I'm gonna be in a different house by the end of next week anyway.
Yeah. All right, everyone, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to us live as we record the show, you can catch us every week, 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time on twitch.tv/minimapau. Otherwise, you can catch us on any podcast platform of your choice, on YouTube, and also just on the website itself, minimap.com.au. We're about to do the post-show, so if you're in the chat, stick around. We'll hang out with you. We'll chat some more, talk about V-Rally some more, I guess. Be sure to keep up to date with us when we post a new episode or anything else on Minimap. On Minimap. You can do that by going to any of our social accounts. That's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch at MiniMapAU. And like I said before, you can also just go to the website, minimap.com.au. Next week, you can look forward to us ranking the game of the year of 2009. So think about what your games that released in that time were, what your favorites are. It'll be interesting to see what has lasted between then and now. Let's see. It turns out I've been reading the intro this whole time, but I think it worked pretty well for the outro. I got to the bit where it was like, we wanted to say thank you to Shook. I was like, wait, no, we did that already. Hang on. Yes, please remember to give us a positive rating wherever you're listening to us. Like on YouTube, or a follow on Twitch, or a plus or a tick or a heart on whatever podcast service you're listening to us on. And just final reminder that you can support us on Patreon if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to support us monetarily to help keep the lights and mics on. You can do that by heading on over to patreon.com/minimapau. And for $5 Australian, you can ask us questions to answer on the podcast, all while helping us out greatly. That's about it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your Halloween. It'll be over by the time you're listening to this. Don't know why I mentioned it. We'll see you next week, everybody. Goodbye.
Halloweeny.